Wes du har min friend, and welcome to yet another video, and welcome to yet another review of the House of the Dragon, this time episode 4, and it is quite interesting, let me tell you, to live in 2022, not good, mind you, but interesting, and see all that has been happening to the entertainment industry in the last couple of years, all that is being happening to storytelling in general, and especially then to adaptations, and not adaptations, and of course, when you are watching House of the Dragon, but at the same time, the abhorrent crime against humanity called The Rings of Power. And if you are watching both, and if you are a fan of the source materials that were basis for these two TV shows, you can't but compare them. You can't but say that The Rings of Power is an absolute shite that is its own thing, Amazon's construction with Tolkien's name labeled on it. And then watch House of the Dragon and see a very well-made adaptation. Mind you, yes, adaptation. People from on both sides, both people who are not excited about The Rings of Power or the House of the Dragon, and people who like one or the other, and even the biggest haters of adaptations, and I am not a fan of adaptations at all, you know that. Even people who dislike adaptations can be normal in that we can admit that adaptations can be very well made. Once again, I have to remind you, there is a difference between an adaptation and The Rings of Power. You take a source material and you try to stay as close as possible to it, to respect the law, to keep, quote-unquote, the message. So if you change a characterization of one character slightly, or if you move the things that are happening in that book a bit, to a slightly different time frame, not time compression that concerns 3,000 years, as is happening in The Rings of Power, or if you take a line from the book and put it in the mouth of another character, well, that's okay, because if it fits the TV show or the film, if it fits the final product, and if the final product is then good and very well made of a high quality, a lot of things can be forgiven. Now, that exactly is the case of the House of the Dragons. Now, of course, a lot of people also have to be reminded that the House of the Dragon is based on the Fire and Blood book, which is, or was, written by the same author as A Song of Ice and Fire, George R.R. Martin, and that the world of Westeros is very much based on medieval European countries and their kingdoms, and many true or real-life historical events, such as the War of the Roses. And it depicts the lives of both the aristocracy, the kings, and the common people at the time. And even within the secondary world of Westeros itself, it is very well known, it has always been known, that the House of Targaryen has been very specific in one way. Well, in more ways, of course. They have dragons, of course. They are the dragon riders. But they have been enjoying a little bit of incest from here and there. So I don't understand why many reviews that I have seen or read so far, since the 4th episode came out, are not satisfied or were troubled by the scene between Rhaenyra and Daemon Targaryen in the brothel. That is what happened in the House of Targaryen. It was very common there. And besides, spoilers now, of course, this video will contain spoilers, as every review that I make. We know that Daemon Targaryen and Rhaenyra Targaryen are going to end up together. They are going to be married. And that ultimately, that which Rhaenyra wants, well, not wants, but that which Damon really wants will kind of happen. So I don't know why people are troubled by this particular scene. On quite the opposite, actually. I appreciated the fact that this episode was different from the previous 3 episodes in that it focused more on the schemes and plots and intrigues and moving the plot, not in a action-style quick pace, a slower pace, yes, but it moved the plot, it revealed many things, and it touched upon events that actually happened in the books, of course. Such as Rhaenyra's journeys around Westeros in a search, quote-unquote, for a husband, a suitor, which was a very, very funny scene at the beginning of the episode. I had to laugh out loud when the 2 lords wanted to slaughter each other, and the young lord, well, he basically ran his sword through the older one. And it was quite interesting and refreshing to see the burning desire in Rhaenyra Targaryen for a man. Because, of course, before the show came out and throughout the entire TV show so far, there have been showrunners and actors providing interviews with sentences like, oh, this is going to focus on the bigotry of humanity and the fact that all men are evil and that patriarchy should fall and that women are the ones who suffer and yada, 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 slay queen, feminism, blah, 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 blah. All the same things that have been discussed over and over again in the last couple of years. So it was quite refreshing to see Rhaenyra Targaryen actually being very much excited to be banged by a man. And of course, when Daemon didn't want to, or decided not to in the end, she kind of, she had to vent her desire somehow. So she seduced Sir Criston Cole, who of course wasn't against that. Who would say no? I wouldn't say no. I'm going to tell you right now. So that was refreshing indeed. Now, I also appreciate the little bits and pieces that are showing how much Viserys is, not very comfortable on the Iron Throne physically. I mean, how he's suffering from all the wounds and all the cuts and scratches that he gets from the throne, and that those wounds are getting worse and worse, and that he is virtually falling apart. And of course, quite obviously, they are showing the clear difference between the position of men and women in the Middle Ages. But people today are looking at it as if it was something strange, as if it was something taboo, as if it was something that we should criticize. But this is how things in Middle Ages were. Now, if I were a king, I would be excited to sell my daughter for a kingdom, or not really for a kingdom, but to have a strong ally. These things were absolutely normal. That's how lords and kings strengthened their positions and became stronger and stronger and stronger. That's how the things were. And of course there was a difference between men and women, and especially as far as the aristocracy goes. Of course, when you are a lord, you could bang 1,000 chicks a month and nobody said anything. You could have had 30 bastards a year and everybody was okay with it. You could still become a king and then have more bastards. If you were a woman, you had some duties. You had to stay pure. You had to, and you could also look at it from a different point of view, not as if it was something bad, but something noble and admirable. A woman, a wife, was the one whose purpose was to ensure the continuation of the bloodline, to ensure the continuation of the house, to provide the king or the lord with heirs that would inherit the throne. They couldn't just go and bang whoever they like, whoever they wanted. This was their importance. Absolutely positive thing. So people have to realize something. People have to realize that today's world is wrong, and today's world is crippled, and today's world is abandoning old traditional values and ways of life that, well, were proved to be right, and not feel disgusted by them. But of course, you can't explain these things to them. And why am I making this video in this way? Well, because I always try to make things a bit differently, to be a bit refreshing. I could have summarized the plot from the beginning to the end and said that, oh, this was done right and this was done wrong. But for this review, for The House of the Dragon, episode 4, I wanted to provide you with my overall feeling of the episode, as well as the entire show as of now. As of recording of this video and the release of the 4th episode, I enjoy it very much indeed, despite the changes that have been made from the source material. The show is extremely well crafted. The actors are good. I don't have a problem with any of the actors from this particular episode. I enjoy Daemon Targaryen, as portrayed by Matt Smith, extremely, as well as Rhaenyra Targaryen. And, I mean, you can watch some interviews with the actors. You can think whatever you want about them and their opinions and what they are saying. But if you look past it, in this episode, they did a great job, all of them. And in addition to this, I have to admit that the more I watch the show, the more attractive I find Rhaenyra as she is in the show, the actress. Of course, she is an adult person. It's not, in the source material, or according to the source material, she should be about 14, so I wouldn't have said that about the book Rhaenyra. I'm talking about the actress and the way she is portraying Rhaenyra in the TV show. So you see, it is possible, even for book purists, to look at a work of art as its own thing. But it needs to do certain things. It needs to be true to the source material. It needs to be true to the lore. It needs to keep the core and the message. And it needs to be well made. And, for example, The Rings of Power is none of these things. And less. Alright, let me know in the comments down below what you think. This one was a shorter one, so I hope you enjoyed it not being too long. And that'll be all. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm out of here.